Hello and welcome to the color choice page introduction video. Today is going to be a watch and then try video. So I would like for your attention to be up on the board, for you to be watching with your hands empty so that you know what to do when you get to this page, and then you'll have time to try all these things afterwards. Now you should have a couple of things out, your color choice page itself, the color scheme menu that you received near the beginning of the year, and you should also have your colored pencil set. Now we are going to go through, and our entire purpose for the color choice practice is to be learning how we can use a color to represent the dark values, a color to represent the medium values, and a color to represent the light values. Now, something that is absolutely necessary to help with this process is this value scale to go through and look at to see which colors are darker than other colors. Now, you're going to look at your color scheme menu, and you do need to pick a color scheme that's off of either this menu or in our color cube documents or the physical cubes. You are able to look for a color scheme that way as well. Now, when you are deciding, and if you were looking through and you were thinking to yourself, okay, well, I really like this secondary triad. So it's got our orange, green, and violet there. Another option, maybe I like this warm color scheme where I could add reds, oranges, and yellows. They're kind of in a row next to each other. And maybe I'll try a complementary color scheme as well. So maybe I'll come in for just one that has two colors, and I'll show you how to work with that. Now we have selected our three color schemes. We need to pick three before we continue. Now we're going to take each color scheme and we're going to decide using this value scale which colors would work best. Now, if I was getting started with my warm color scheme, so reds, oranges, and yellows, I need to look at this list and then I could say, okay, well, here is Crimson Lake. So I could use that as one of my colors. It's red, right? Now continuing on, we've got Scarlet Red. So we could come in with a Scarlet Red and give ourselves that color. Now let's continue and let's see, we've got Carmine Red. So that's like the pinker kind of red. Here we are. And then let's see, we've got Orange. And then we've got Peach. And Canary Yellow. Then we've got Lemon Yellow. And then Neon Yellow. Now, out of our warm color scheme, these are all the colors that I can choose from. I need to pick three that are in order. So that means my darker one needs to be above my middle one, which needs to be above my lighter one. So I could choose the Scarlet Red, and then Orange, and then Yellow. Or I could choose the Crimson Lake, and then Carmine Red, and then Neon Yellow. Like, there's so many different ways that we could pair these, but what matters is that they are in order. Now I am going to take my color choice for scheme number 1 and I'm going to just fill it in. So here is my Crimson Lake. I chose for my darkest color, and we're just gonna burnish this space so that we've got it nice and filled in. Now I'm gonna come in for my second color, and I think I'm gonna choose my orange. So I'm just gonna add that in here. And then let's do yellow. So I'm gonna choose the Canary Yellow and add that in. Now, as you go through for this process for the next color scheme, you are able to continue making those colors on the side so that you can see what your options are, and then you'll pick them so that they are in order. Now, let me show you another option. Remember that I told you I was going to do my secondary color scheme. So that's 3 colors, a triad. So I am going to take my color options, and let's see, we're looking for our purples, our greens, and our oranges. So we've got our orange here. Now I have my muted violet, and let's also add permanent green. and we can see what order they go in. So if I wanted to use purple, orange, and green together, I could use these different versions of them, and then I could choose that orange is gonna be my darkest, permanent green will be my middle, and the muted violet will be my last. So then I would come in and orange would be my darkest because it's highest up on the list, and then green would be my medium because it's next, and then my muted violet would be last because it's the lowest down on that list. Now let's talk about what to do if you only have 2 colors in your color scheme. For example, my complementary color scheme right here. So I can look at any of the purples and any of the yellows. So I could come in and say, all right, well, we've got purple, which is on here all the way up at the top. Then we've got muted violet, and then all of our yellows are down here. So I think I'll just probably start with purple being my dark. Muted violet will be my medium. And then maybe I'll choose the neon yellow just for something fun. Ooh, that's kind of cool. All right, now once you've chosen your 3 color schemes, and notice that we leave the one white, we're leaving that white. Now we are gonna come through and we're gonna shade on top of these tigers the same way that we did for our skill building practice together. So if you have not done the practice tiger together with me, then you should back up and watch that video so you know what to do. But we are going to go through now and we're gonna take all of our areas that are solid black, and you are going to just cover up those areas so that you are covering them with your darkest color. Now we want to make sure that we leave enough space for white to stay white. So as we go through, we are going to fill in our medium tones, and I want you to use the same size and texture as what you see for the actual length of the fur. So notice that it's much longer out on the edges of the face, so we can use lines. But then as it gets towards the center here, it's getting lighter. So now I am going to just add in a little bit of the light yellow as we're going through our lightest colors. And you can kind of hop through and say, okay, well, here's like that lightest gray that I'm looking for. So I'm gonna leave the white to be white. We wanna make sure that we don't cover that up too much, but I am looking for all of those light gray areas to go through and add my lightest color to where it's not supposed to be white. So I'm looking for all of those areas where it's getting lighter and going through and filling that in. And then I'm going to continue by looking for the next darkest gray, and I'm coming in with my orange and adding that. And then I can still be going through and adding my black to have like a cover up of my darkest color. So we are going through and just covering up these spaces, and it's really helpful for you to be able to see what color scheme you would like to do the most. So we are going through and just adding and covering up all of the solid black areas with our darkest color, leaving space for the white to show through, and we are coming in and just filling these spaces. Now, I would like for you to have this goal in mind. I want you to make sure that when you're finished with each of these tigers, that you do not have any gray left showing. If you do, that means that you're not quite done yet. So you are gonna keep coloring until all of the gray on the tiger's face is actually covered up with the specific correct color. Now, we don't need to fill in the background, that is slightly different. So we are just filling in the actual face to make sure that we don't have any gray that's left behind. And I would like to finish this first one just to have it visible for you guys to see like what we're going for here. So you've noticed that we're just kind of bouncing back and forth between these colors and choosing the ones that match the value that we're currently working on. So I am almost done covering up all of the gray here, and you can see the transition is really cool. Now, as you are working, I would like for you to fill in this space beneath so that you can see what your colors are, and then you can either write the number, which for orange is 318, or you could write orange, and that's totally up to you. Now, once you've done that for all 3 of these tigers, and you've done it using the correct color scheme, so now for scheme 2, you're gonna use this, and you're gonna go through and everything that's your darkest color will be orange, and then you're gonna switch to the permanent green, and then your lightest shading should be with the muted violet. Now, once you've done these 3, it's gonna give you some really great information about which colors you would like to work with the most for this project. Now, once you've decided your final decision for your color scheme, you are going to come through and you can write the name and you can fill in, and you're going to do this because it's the value scale you're using for the entire rest of this project. So it is very important that you have this done well and that you cut it out and keep it so you don't lose it. So you're going to fill in your final color choice and you're going to write the name directly above. Then the next step, after we've written muted violet and neon yellow, then you're going to take a pair of scissors and you're going to cut this out. Now, once you've cut this out, you are going to put a hole punch in each of these 10 sections, so that as you go through, you can hover over the top of your printed photo. So yours should be printed from Canva with your text and everything included. And we are going to go through and you'll use this as your guide. So if I was shading in the cheek and the ear right here, I could hover and say, okay, well, it's probably gonna be my muted violet. But as I get to this section where it's a little lighter, that's where I would come in and use this color instead. So it's going to help you to decide which color to use and when, which is really awesome. Now, as you finish this up, I would like for you to take your picture before you cut this part off so that I can tell that it is complete and ready to be graded, and then you'll submit that for the grade and continue on to our next step, which is learning how to use Canva to create your layout.